When choosing how many days you want to spend in the gym working out, you have to be realistic. If you're a really ambitious person, subtracting a day or two from your original maximalist conclusion is generally a good idea. I understand that people don't want to waste time doing something that doesn't result in progress, but the gym is something that's supposed to improve your life and make it more enjoyable, whether it's from looking or feeling better. If you're absolutely exhausted and dragging yourself through your workouts, the likelihood of burnout skyrockets. It's cool and all for a while, and if you've been doing this for a while, or it's become your job, I myself have played with going more than 6 times a week, going all the way up to 12 times a week. But if you're going to absolute failure on every set, with more than 6 times a week training, you'll likely run into some overuse issues or injuries. So a good upper limit that I recommend is going 6 times a week. But there's no one stopping you from experimenting with going more often. Who knows, maybe it's more optimal for you. But if you are this ambitious person that's looking for the best results, you've got to realize that there are diminishing returns from how much work you put in and how much you get out. And you've got to weigh your options and really think about if it's worth it for you. Each set you do in a workout is giving less than the one before, and there's even a point where there seems to be no benefit at all with additional sets. Sets beyond that point are called junk volume sets, or just junk volume. So when deciding how much you want to do, it's good to think about how much you need for muscle growth. If you're a beginner, you can totally make progress only going 2 times a week to the gym. You would end up much bigger after going 2 times a week for life than 6 times a week for 6 months. Do you like going 30 minutes 2 times a week or 4 times a week for an hour? Play around with it and try crafting the plan that you enjoy the most. Do the coolest exercises that you enjoy the most and have enjoyment as your number one goal. But unfortunately, a lot of people are so dissatisfied with their current situation that not progressing is the worst of all. Until those people find their peace, I will present my temporary solution to their problems. I will do that by demonstrating why a 6-day plan is the best, and what goes into making decisions on a 6-day plan, which will apply to all other types of plans. These will not be recommendations, simply what I think is best for bodybuilding. With training enjoyment out of the way, I will still stand by my rule of not going over 6 days a week. If joint pain is not an issue and you want the best gains possible, you should be going 6 days a week. Someone might object that going so many days a week is too much for a person that doesn't need much. How much volume you need is, yes, one of the most important questions you need to ask yourself when choosing your split, but even if you need very little, let's say 2 sets per muscle group, that's 30 sets per week, and if you go 6 days a week, that's 5 sets per session on average. The math is on the screen. If nothing is supersetted, and you rest 3 minutes between sets, only the time spent resting between your sets is 15 minutes, and that's not counting the time spent walking between exercises, warm-up sets, and the time it takes you to perform your sets, which will result in a 20-minute workout at a minimum. Although it's far from what's typical, some people might prefer that type of training. It could be done on one's lunch break at work. These 30 sets spread on any less than those 6 sessions would result in less stimulus, because of the diminishing return effect of the stimulus per set of doing more sets in a single workout. Spreading 30 sets on fewer days than 6 must mean that you are doing more sets per workout. Because I'm talking about going 6 days a week, I have to talk about overtraining. Is overtraining possible? Yes. You can do so much in the gym that it's counterproductive, or otherwise called overtraining. But not many people reach that state, because as you close in on it, your motivation starts to drop, which is why you often hear that 6-day plans are unsustainable. It's not that people are constantly overtraining, they've just got less motivation to train because of all the training, and they burn out. It's not pleasant to push yourself that hard, and I don't recommend going so close to that point of fatigue. But if you're afraid of going too hard or some G.I. Joe with no feelings and a burning desire for an epic physique, I'll teach you how to know. You've started to overtrain a body part if you lose reps on a movement for the same body part 2 sessions in a row. The loss in reps can't be because you slowed down your tempo or made the exercise any harder in any other way. It also cannot be because you forgot your headphones at home and you didn't push yourself as hard. It must be with the same technique and effort. And to know when you're systemically overtraining, it's when most of your muscle groups are underperforming 2 sessions in a row. The reason why I say 2 sessions in a row is because underperformances that you bounce back from happen. These underperformances can even happen early on in your training program, and then you keep on going with the same amount of volume for weeks on end without a single problem. So don't jump the gun and deload or do something about it too early. But before you reach those points of fatigue, if burnout doesn't get you before overtraining, it's joint fatigue, which we will now get into. If you paid close attention, you noticed that I said 6 days a week plans are the most optimal given that joint pain is not an issue. The thing is that joint fatigue doesn't really work like the local fatigue and systemic fatigue you get from working out. The joints are especially sensitive to high frequency, or in simpler terms, being stressed often throughout the week. As you advance, joint fatigue starts to become more of an issue. If you're new to the gym, you don't really need to worry about this part. Alex Leonidas, for example, trained his chest every 5 days, getting his bench PR of 405 at 181 pound body weight. He tried doing lower volume and training more frequently, but he just couldn't. His joints got too beat up and he needed a longer rest. More sessions per week is generally more joint fatigue. Let's look at this bro split I made. Everything looks fine, and lifting common sense tells us that 1 time a week frequencies per body part are generally less joint fatiguing. But although the frequency per muscle group is low, the frequency of the joints being stressed is high. And when managing joint fatigue, you have to keep the frequency of the joints being hit in mind. So, even though my simple answer 6 is generally the best for muscle growth, there's a lot more that goes into finding how many days a week is the most optimal for you. Finding your optimal amount of days in the gym is a puzzle, a balancing act between choosing the frequency of your joints being hit that allows you to get the highest amount of stimulus possible, but not to the point of overtraining, while having it low enough so your joints stay fresh enough so you can keep on pushing for the next week, month, and year. So, if you want what's best for muscle growth and you don't have joint pain, go 6 times a week. Then scale your volume per day up or down based on how close you are to overtraining. But if you've got pain that's limiting your ability to lift on a 6-day plan or any plan whatsoever, and you're still confused on how to manage it, watch my video on how to manage joint fatigue. As you advance in the gym, solving this puzzle will become more and more complex, and there are a lot more tools to solve it out there than laid out in this video. If this video didn't give you the necessary tools needed to solve the puzzle for you, or if you want to prepare for when that day comes, subscribe to the channel for more training knowledge. Thank you for watching to the very end, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Peace.